wrapping up hour number 1 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. We are brought to you by our friends at Dingman's Collision Center. Dingman's has 4 great Omaha area locations. They are family-owned and operated. They've been in Omaha for over 25 years, and for the last 18 years running, they've been voted first place best of Omaha because they can work on any make and model, no matter what you've got for them, because they invest in the latest technology and they invest in the community with their give back program. Every car repaired, Dingman's gives back to the community. Check it out at dingmans.com. All right, there was another piece of recruiting info having to do with the state of Nebraska last night. Not the University of Nebraska, much to my chagrin. My guy, Anthony Rezac, committed as a preferred walk-on to Notre Dame.
Good for him.
Really happy for him. He'll go be with his brother, Teddy, who will be on scholarship with the Fighting Irish. And I know I fought with a lot of people about this, of whether or not he was a Power 5 quarterback and whatever. And I know people will be like, well, it's a preferred walk-on spot. It's not a scholarship, whatever. Listen, first of all, one of my biggest issues is I just don't like how Nebraska handled this. Like, just straight up, don't like how Nebraska handled the situation with Anthony Rezac. And I know this firsthand, they did not give him the time of day. They didn't give him, and listen, this is nothing against, and I forget the guy's name off the top of my head. This is nothing against
Matt Rule.
No. Marcus Satter?
No.
No. There's the preferred walk-on from Blair that's coming to Nebraska. I can't remember the kid's name off the top of my head, but he's not as good as Anthony Rezac. I'm sorry. Like, he's just not. And so the fact that they actively recruited him for a preferred walk-on spot, Anthony Rezac never got so much as a preferred walk-on offer from Nebraska. They never said they wanted to give him a shot even as a quarterback. They were looking at him as a safety, which is fine, but be upfront about it, right? That was kind of an issue. They brought him in for a visit and largely ignored him. This is one of the 2 best football players in your state. The other one, Caleb Benning, they locked down, right? I don't understand. Listen, if you don't think you want to offer him a scholarship, okay, that's your judgment. I can accept that. I don't love it, but I can accept it. But to ignore him as a preferred walk-on, to offer a lesser Nebraska quarterback as a preferred walk-on, and again, nothing against the Blair kid, but Anthony is one of the 2 best players in the state and the best quarterback in the state for my money, okay? And to handle it that way, to basically ignore him when you invite him down for a visit, like, that to me was what I had the issue with. Whether you think he's a Power 5 quarterback or not, whether you just want him in as an athlete, whatever, here's what I know for a fact. As a preferred walk-on, the head coach of Notre Dame was actively involved in Anthony Rezac's recruitment. That's a fact. They wanted that guy in their locker room. And if you've met the kid, if you've seen him lead on the football field, if you know anything about him and his family, you understand exactly why they wanted him in that locker room. You're talking about culture and fit and things like that. And to go and totally ignore a guy like Anthony Rezac, even if it is just as a preferred walk-on, blows my freaking mind. I just don't get it, and I never will.
Preferred walk-ons or walk-ons in general, are labeled as what? Gambles.
Yeah,
right?
You're taking a flyer. You're taking a flyer.
Gambles. So the idea of not wanting to gamble on Anthony Rezac was alarming to me. Yes, Nebraska didn't see him as a quarterback. That was obvious.
Sure.
Because you would have offered him if you saw him as a quarterback.
Sure.
Like, if Nebraska was like, we want to rebuild this quarterback room. We see Anthony Rezac is having a ton of success at Westside. He is going to play quarterback for us. Let's offer him as a preferred walk-on. Like, that would be telling. Okay, they want him to play this position. But because they didn't offer him, because they kind of gave him the cold shoulder, it told me everything I needed to know about how they thought about him, and it wasn't him playing quarterback at the university. And then it turned into, well, if he's not playing quarterback, what is he playing?
Yeah.
And so that's why Nebraska just veered off. For me, the biggest knock on his entire Nebraska recruitment is the fact that he was ignored on his recruiting visit.
Yep.
Because I'm a first impression guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most people are.
Yeah.
But especially me. Now I'm really good about giving people a second chance.
Sure.
But in moments like this, like as much as I'm trying to get you to want me, a lot of it is, no, you're trying to get me to want you.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to show me the time of day, dude, I'll move on. Like, because the way he was raised, and you brought up his family, which is a great tie. I mean, his dad is super well known in the person to person department.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, he's very personable and he's very smart, and they know what they're doing in that family.
Well, and they've raised confident kids, right? Like there's a lot of kids that would be blown away just by, that Nebraska offer or send me down to a game day or whatever. He's raised confident kids. Those are kids that know their value. They know their worth. And it's kind of funny because it seems like Anthony approached his recruiting in the same way that Nebraska approaches their recruits, in that, hey, we want guys that really want to be there. I think Anthony just wanted to be somewhere where they really wanted him there. And listen,
who doesn't?
Right. Yeah,
Who
absolutely. Doesn't? But like, I think there are some kids that would be like, like they get, because it's the hometown team and things like that, they get a little, they get the rose-colored glasses on with Nebraska football. And to his credit, Anthony didn't with the, with the visit and whatever. It was a situation where it's like, hey, Marcus Freeman is calling me. Marcus Freeman is texting me. The head coach at Notre Dame is actively involved in a preferred walk-on recruitment. That means they really want you there, right? And listen, if you don't see him as a quarterback, that's fine. This kid is 6'4", 200 pounds, and runs a 4.48 40.
And Nebraska's really good about moving guys around on their team.
Offer him as an athlete. Position. How many guys on a football field, how many different positions does 6'4", 240 and a 6'5", 200 and a 4.5 40 play? That'll play at a bunch of different positions, right? Especially after you get him into a weight program, especially after you get him a nutrition program.
I mean, it's essentially Heinrich Harburg.
You can turn that guy into whatever you want.
It's essentially him.
Yeah,
and except you can't tell me it's not. Size-wise,
yes, very similar
the
size.
Exact same. It's the exact same thing.
I think in short spaces, Anthony's more agile. I think he's quicker than Harburg is. Harburg might have better top-end speed, but it's probably close. I mean, and I get that this staff didn't recruit Harburg, but listen, you're telling me you can't do something with a 6'4", 200-pound kid who's super competitive, has a great mindset, and runs a 4.5 40? There's nothing you can do with that kid.
I'll tell you this, Ravi.
As a walk-on, there's nothing you can do with that kid.
I'll tell you this. Nebraska better hope he doesn't turn out to be a good college football player. Just a good college football player. Not like not a superstar.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just better
at
hope,
any position.
They just better hope he doesn't turn out to be a good football player, because and I have a hard time believing that he won't. But if he does, that is going to be one of the biggest X's. Red X.
Yeah, black
bones.
It's a black mark.
Red X.
Yeah.
Black mark. Pink slip.
Yeah.
That this Nebraska coaching staff will have on their resume.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's a miss. It's a big miss. You're taking somebody that led their team to a, was it 12-0, 13-0?
13-0.
13-0.
Right
so
out
one of the best high school football seasons
in Nebraska history. Yeah.
They set all sorts of records.
The team did. Yeah, for sure.
Rezac was super productive. He was voted.
He was also playing with what? A torn something or other in his shoulder. Was it a labrum?
Yeah, I think he was banged up. I think it was on that Millard South game. He got banged up, came back. I mean, like there's
he wasn't throwing at 100%.
From a mentality, from a competitiveness, from a physical profile, whether you see this guy as a quarterback or not, recruit him as an athlete, recruit him as a person. Be like, hey, look at the culture that Westside has, right? I'm wearing a Westside shirt today because I like supporting my guy Rezac, right? And you look at the culture that they have. That is as much, we talked to DB about it on Monday with Sauter. That is as much about what happened this year as the talent on the field. There's other teams that Division I talent, at least, are comparable. This team for Westside only has like, I think 4 scholarship Division I guys on it. Maybe they'll have more later that come up that are younger guys. But as far as like active contributors, you're talking about Christian Jones, Caleb Benning, Anthony Rezac, or Teddy Rezac, because Anthony's not scholarship. And then I think there's one more that I'm forgetting. But you're talking about 3 or 4 guys.
Well, Christian Jones is a big
big
name to talk about.
Yes.
No, right now.
Okay.
Because this is somebody that has had a lot of connection with Nebraska. Nebraska likes him.
As well they should.
He shows off in camp really, really well, but he also shows out on the field.
Yep.
And having that correlation is more important than, hey, I just look good when I'm not in pads.
Yeah.
But in regards to the Rezac brothers, and those at Westside connected to Nebraska, you can't tell me that Marcus Freeman isn't also knee-deep in that program.
Absolutely.
And knee-deep into the Rezac family because he wants to get close to Christian Jones too. You can't tell me that isn't a huge reason here. If it was only one Rezac going to Notre Dame, you probably have a leg up. But with both Rezacs there and you have Caleb Benning going to Nebraska, and yes, you have some other Nebraska ties, you're looking at maybe a 50-50 spot here. And then you look at Christian Jones and you're like, hey, man, you can go to your state school. You can go to the school that you grew up loving and adoring. Or you can go to a program that has also a large history of winning.
Yeah.
And is winning right now.
Absolutely. That's our number 1. Coming up next, we're going to have Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7.
We will be back.